If you give a friend assistance once so that he or she gets out of poverty, it's great. But if you then give him or her assistance repeatedly for 40 years to get out of poverty, but he or she always comes back every year begging you for more assistance to get out of poverty, then what is the true problem here?
This is the son of the former Ugandan dictator Idi Amin Dada, who ruled over Uganda for 8 years. That's from January 1971 to April 1979. His name is Hussein Lumumba Amin. He lives in Uganda, and in the early morning of August 16, 2023, he sent out a passionate tribute to his late father, who died in exile in Saudi Arabia, as he marked the 20th anniversary of his death. Taking to his social pages, Lumumba Amin wrote that, "On this day in the year 2003, I lost a true hero, and a loving father, Idi Amin Dada. But more importantly, Uganda lost the only leader who truly served this country and its people, and not himself. A leader who actually developed Uganda and made the country thrive without any help from the World Bank. A leader who also left the country without a single debt. May his soul rest in eternal peace." He then went ahead to advise the current leadership in Uganda and other African countries to emulate Idi Amin's foreign debt policy, saying that it's the only way through which Africans will truly become independent. That it's time to shelve all the elaborate excuses and realize that dependency is a syndrome of the weak, the corrupt, the selfish and the greedy. It is a mental slavery disease which is simply weakening our resolve as a united country and continent to fight harder for our own development and stand stronger for the betterment of the future for our own children. His tribute to his father came just 4 days after eulogizing his late mother, whom he said died on August 12, 1974. In his tribute to his mother, he took to the social networks on August 12, 2023 to write that, "On this day in 1974, my late mother, First Lady K. Adroa Amin, was attacked by 4 unknown men at her private residence, which was a flat next to Nakivubo Channel in Kampala City. She was then brutally murdered, and the body dumped 2 days later at the gate of a clinic in Kololo. However, my mother's housemaid was the only eyewitness of the murder." It's worth noting that Idi Amin was one of the world's most brutal dictators of the 20th century. He ruled over Uganda with an iron fist and a particularly evil sense of humor, with his reign being marked by a brutality that earned him the nickname, the Butcher of Uganda. Idi Amin came to power in January 1971, after launching a coup d'etat against President Milton Obote, who had just promoted him to the position of commander of the armed forces in Uganda in 1970, then quickly rescinded the promotion and took control of the military himself, after suspecting that Idi Amin might topple him. When Idi Amin launched the coup d'etat in that January of 1971, Milton Obote was in a state visit to Singapore, and Amin had on his part suspected that Obote would arrest him for corruption. As soon as he had seized power, Idi Amin acted swiftly to consolidate his position, by entrenching the military as the ruling force in Uganda, and surrounding himself with people he could trust. Shortly after he seized power, he began to receive military and financial support from Britain and Israel, but when he asked Israel for advanced military equipment, the request was declined. As a result, he denounced Zionism and sought trade with Libya, partnering with Muammar Gaddafi, who immediately loaned him $25 million and promised to continue supporting his regime. Additionally, his 1972 expulsion of thousands of Asians from Uganda, and ordering of their businesses to be taken over by Ugandans, saw him break all ties with Britain, Israel and India, leaving him with no choice but to look for other partners. The new partner that he immediately landed was the Soviet Union. From 1973 onwards, the Soviet Union began providing arms, armor, and technical assistance to Uganda. This is because the Soviet Union saw Uganda as a key player in counterbalancing Chinese influence in Tanzania and Western influence in Kenya. By 1975, the Soviet Union had supplied Idi Amin's regime with $12 million in financial support and $48 million in security and military equipment. In the final years of his reign, Idi Amin survived many assassination attempts. However, as years went by, his grip on power weakened and there was a diminished number of those who were loyal to him. His downfall began taking shape in 1977 after he appointed General Mustafa Adrizi as vice president. General Adrizi had his own core support within the military, and wielded significant power, so suspecting that he might stage a coup d'état against him, Amin stripped him of power, angering Adrizi's military supporters and causing further unrest in the country as Amin purged Adrizi's supporters. Soldiers loyal to Adrizi eventually mutinied in 1978, and Amin sent soldiers to crush the mutineers, who had fled across the border to Tanzania. In the process, he accidentally ended up invading Tanzania, and after capturing a part of Tanzania, he later bragged that the invasion was intentional. This prompted Tanzania to organize a counter-offensive against Uganda, and on April 11, 1979, Kampala was captured, forcing Idi Amin to flee the country and seek refuge in the Middle East. The subsequent years saw him find protection in Saudi Arabia, but he continued to fund his supporters during the Ugandan Bush War that followed, where many groups of rebels in Uganda fought for Idi Amin's return, but they eventually failed. In 1989, he sneaked to the Democratic Republic of Congo as he sought his way back home when Museveni was in power, but was immediately arrested. Saudi Arabia eventually agreed to allow him back into the country, and as a result, Idi Amin spent the rest of his life there, eventually being nicknamed Dr. Jaffa for his love of oranges. He died of kidney failure in 2003 and was buried in Ruwais Cemetery in Jeddah.
When a public opinion poll was conducted on the X platform, and it was found that 62% of Ugandans declared President Idi Amin to be the greatest Ugandan leader of all time. Many people overseas could not understand that, they could not just comprehend. So here is one of the famous actresses in Uganda, and this is what she said when she was asked her opinion about the Ugandan leader.
From Idi Amin daddy, he was funny, he was dictator, he was really awful, but is there anything that you learn, in terms of his sense of humor?
Him and his life. The funny thing is that me and you view Idi Amin from different light. I understand when you view Idi Amin as the terrorist that woke up one day and didn't want to see your face and said go. But coming from a point right now where I'm in a country where I think the citizens in that country are not getting what they want from the government, and a lot is being taken by the people that come, I view him in a different light. I love his humor, and at some point I want him to come back, believe it or not, because he meant protection for me, for the Ugandans that were there. So it's hard for me to give you an answer that will make you go to bed happy. But I cannot crucify Idi Amin. I can't. If you look around, the developments that he put have been sustained. Yeah, so it's a double sword, yeah? I don't want to praise him for the ill that he did, but then I can't tramp over him because we have celebrations for him at home.
For all those who still do not understand, this is how the Ugandan leader himself said about how he served his country.
I am one of the poor leader in the world, and my intention is to work for my people, but not for me. That is the reason why you know that if you check all banks all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the United States of America, you will never find account belong to me, because I work for the people of Uganda. I am a founder of the economic independence of Uganda. As a founder member and as a founder of the economic independence in Uganda, it will be very shame if I am to destroy my own town, capital city. The whole capital city is full. and they found ginger, it is full. And therefore I directed my officers and the men of the Uganda Armed Forces not to steal, not to destroy any industry or any building, and we never. We withdraw safely. I was the last man to withdraw from the battlefield.
What lessons can Africans learn from Idi Amin? Leave your thoughts on this in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe before leaving.